Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be discussing how to find the right HELOC in North Carolina. Yesterday we covered South Carolina. So what I'm going to do is actually pull data from yesterday's session and add to today's session as well, covering the state of North Carolina. Because what you will see when you're doing research on home equity lines of credits in your state or nationwide is oftentimes the neighboring states might also do business in your state. So we found some really good banks yesterday that some were like prime minus. We also found a pretty big bank called Fifth Third Bank that was offering some really good incentives on their home equity line of credit product. So we're going to kind of bring that all together just to see, okay, does this bank also cover North Carolina and South Carolina? And that'll really help you make a really, really wise decision in terms of the bank that you choose. If you don't know, this is part of an entire series where we are going state by state, helping you find the right debt tool, the right line of credit, structured properly with the right incentives, so that you can implement this strategy even better, get better results, and get to your overall financial goals much faster. This is going to help you become a better borrower overall, knowing what opportunities are out there in terms of when it comes to financing things. Okay? So it's going to be very, very valuable for you. We're going to dive right into it. On the left-hand side of the board are the action steps. You will notice in this series that this side of the board never changes. This framework applies to every single state in America. There might be some slight variations in the details, but the framework stays the same. These are the principal action items you need to know in advance before you apply. Things like, what's your credit score? What's your DTI? What's the LTV options with the bank? What's the closing cost? Intro rate? How is my rate determined? What's the draw period? Do I have a relationship with that bank? Do they have mobile banking? And is the line of credit actually revolving? Put all these things together. When we're doing our research, we're trying to check off as many of these boxes as we can to make the best decision. So far in my research, I found one bank that is offering a prime minus 0.75%. So 6.5% could be how low the rate could go. With a 15-year draw, mobile banking friendly, no closing costs. I don't know what the annual fee is, if they have one or not. It wasn't disclosed on the website. And I don't know what the LTV option is. Most of the time, when you're dealing with a prime minus interest rate offer with a bank, typically the LTV is somewhere around 70 to 90% or less. Most of the time, it's 80% or less. So when you're looking at LTV options, it has a direct correlation to what your rate will be. The lower your LTV, typically the lower your rate will be because it's less risk for the bank to take on. The higher the LTV you go, 95, 100%, typically the higher the interest rate will be. All right. So we're going to fly through my research, because what we're also doing is just like a process of elimination as well. So this is what I search. I type in credit unions first in the state that I'm searching in, and I explicitly state that offer a home equity line of credit. And that's what helps me typically find the best banks. I typically will skip over any sponsors, because those are typically not the banks we want to look at. And then I scroll down here and I start just picking apart this research, and I might even go to page 2, which I'm already on. So this is page 1 of Google. There's usually this area right here where it gives like a nice list of credit unions, and I'll just kind of fly through it. I'm looking for key details. Things like intro rates, prime minus, no closing costs, nice draw period, LTV. Those like main details I'm looking to find on each of these sites. So over here, all these tabs are just a bunch of banks I got opened up. And together we're going to determine what makes it to the board or not. Now I've already kind of set the standard, which is going to be tough to beat. What's the standard? I have one bank here called Summit Credit Union in the state of North Carolina. And another thing to note, in this series, you might see the same bank get listed on the board for different states. That doesn't mean necessarily that it's the same exact bank. A lot of credit unions, often for some reason, they use the same names. Oftentimes, you're going to see that. But when you go to the website, it'll be a totally different website depending on the state that we're in. So Summit Credit Union is a bank that we see in North Carolina, Wisconsin, South Carolina, but I believe they're actually totally different banks because of the way the website is set up, or maybe they are the same, but just different marketing and website setups. I don't know the full details, but that's your job, is to actually call these banks. Trust the information that I'm giving you, but you're going to go ahead and verify it by calling. So the standard that I've already set was prime minus 0.75% with a 15-year draw, no closing costs. That's really, really attractive. Again, there are some details we're missing. We don't know what the annual fee is, if there is one or not. We don't know what the LTV option is, and we don't know what the max credit line amount is. And here's another bank called Civic Credit Union. Pretty standard, decent home equity line of credit. They go up to 250,000. Rates as low as prime. Prime right now is 7.25% with a 15-year draw. Let's see what else. So they cover North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. They go up to 90% LTV. Interest-only payments. Oh, actually, it's principal and interest payments. And notice how there is no difference in, oh no, there is. There is a difference in the interest rate if you go with a traditional HELOC, which is going to be principal and interest, versus an interest-only HELOC. Look how they bump you up, prime plus 0.5%. So you're going to want to go with the traditional if you were to choose this bank to get the best rate and the best opportunity. Other than that, was not able to see any other key information on closing costs. Down here it shows a margin starting at plus 1%. Again, that's on their interest-only HELOC. So you're going to want to avoid that. Let's see. Got some closing costs. So there will be some closing costs. So again, Civic Credit Union, I'm just showing you my research. This, I'm not putting it on the board. Not worth it in my opinion. Here's another bank called Fort Bragg. We have the rate is based on prime, no appraisal fee, 90% LTV. Was not able to pull much information other than that. Let's see what their rates are. Oh no, this is just taking me to a whole nother site. Yep. Again, another bank. Yes, they offer HELOC, but not that attractive. Here's the next bank called People's Bank. They are teasing us with two options: 5.99% intro rate or no closing costs. So you scroll down, you see here they go a max of 250,000, 5.99 intro rate for 12 months. then goes to a certain rate. We'll see if they show what that is. The other option is no intro rate, no closing costs, start at 7.5%. So that's prime plus 0.25%. We come down, we see here that if you go with the promotional rate, after the introduction period, the loan will become variable. The subsequent APR may vary from prime rate, which sounds good to me, to prime plus 0.75%. The prime rate, boom, based on, right, Wall Street Journal, boom. So 7.25%. The current APR for a home equity line of credit using the prime rate plus the 0.75 margin, 8%. So in order to get the best opportunity with this bank, we need to have the best credit. If we to take that 5.99, we could be at a prime rate. So that's quite attractive. I would say this could make it to the whiteboard. We also have no annual fees, but we are going to pay some closing costs with this bank. So 128. But the closing costs don't look to be that high. We see how there is a credit score requirement, 720. So this is actually a pretty good offer. Actually not upset about this. So I'm going to go ahead and put People's Bank on the board, because I think that is a competitive option, no doubt. So we got People's Bank. Is this a credit union or is this just a regular bank? Not too sure, actually. It doesn't. People's Bank is a North Carolina community bank. All right, so it's a community bank. And we got prime, 5.99, 12 months, intro rate. What else do we know? Low closing costs, not too bad. No annual fee, I like that a lot. That's cool. 250,000 max credit limit. Definitely mobile banking friendly. What else do we know? Make sure I got everything. I'm not missing anything. Yes, 720 credit score needed. That's the credit score. Definitely need to have that. And that's about it. What was the drop period on this? I think I saw. It says a balloon payment result if only, okay. It says 15-year term, but it could be like a 10-year draw, 5-year repayment. So I'm going to leave that unknown for now. So now we got two banks on the board. Not bad. Let's continue our research. We got Another bank called Self-Help Credit Union. Again, a website where we're just not getting all the info, so we can't fully judge it. But what we do know, they do cover North Carolina and South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, and Virginia. Not bad. But we're just not getting any information on this tool. So we don't know. You have to contact them to get the full details. So what you would do is you'd call the bank, have the action items right next to you, so you can ask each question. So we won't put it on the board just because we don't know the facts. So again, just showing you my research. We have another bank called Justice Federal Credit Union. Let's see what they have. They do offer home equity line of credit. Looks like it only goes up to 100,000. The rate could be as low as prime. We go to view rates. Same thing. But I see again, we have 250,000 as long as you keep it under 80% LTV. All right. That's the interest only option, which is pretty competitive for an interest only HELOC product. That they're not adding an additional fee based on interest only payments. It's actually based off LTV. Got some closing costs here, a little bit higher than I like. No intro rate, as we can see. So, not the most attractive. Why? Well, People's Bank is pretty much offering the same stuff, but with a 5.99% intro rate promo, lower closing costs, and no annual fee, with the same 250,000. But again, here's a bank that, nope, that's talking about the home equity loans. Here's a bank that's covering multiple states, as you can see. So that was Justice, but not making it on the board. Another bank called Coastal Credit Union. I have an interesting product here where if you're someone that has a mortgage with this bank and you get a HELOC with them, they're giving you a 0.25% rate discount. Then if you select the 70% LTV, they're starting you as low as prime minus 0.15%. So pretty low, but add the prime minus 0.15 plus minus 0.25. Now you're in the 6.9 or 6.85 range. So not bad. So could be as low as 6.85% if you have a mortgage with them. So that's going to be for a small group of people that find this video, okay? So I'm not going to put it on the board just because you have to do so much. Matter of fact, no, let's put it on the board. Why not? Why not? This could be quite valuable. But we see here we got no annual fees. That's cool. 10-year draw. Okay. Let's see. Is it mobile banking friendly? Digital banking. to your checking. Yeah, boom, nice. Okay, so the properties in North Carolina, all closing costs, standard closing costs are covered. There still might be some third-party fees. Okay, this is what I didn't like. This is why I think I initially said I didn't want to put it on the board, not just because of the work that I need to do to get that low rate, but it says here the minimum APR from a home equity line of credit is 7.1% with relationship pricing. With relationship pricing. So does that mean that it can't go below 7.1%? I think that might be the case. So I don't love that. Okay. Because we're in a declining interest rate environment. If rates go below 7.1%, which they likely will by the end of the year, I don't get to participate in that. So that's why I initially said I didn't want to put them on the board. So they're going to stay off. Sharon View Federal Credit Union was another bank we covered yesterday. Although, let me look at our notes. Yeah, Sharon didn't make it to the whiteboard. So they also don't make it here. Just because they don't really give us much information. They don't tell us much on their loan. Hold on. Loan, home equity. Yeah, 350, 90%, 15-year draw. Got some costs. Lowest prime. Boom. 660. They cover North Carolina, South Carolina. There is a world where someone might value this if their credit score isn't 720, but the bank at, say, 660 or higher, if I can get that 725, then that's going to be attractive, but I doubt it. Highly doubt it. I'll probably bump you up here, closer to that. So again, another bank that does offer HELOC, but not competing. Not well enough. Here's another one, Revity. Federal Credit Union, 10-year draw, 100% LTV, no closing costs. Just offered to North Carolina, but they don't make it to the whiteboard. We don't have all the facts. Don't know what the rate is. We'll click on rates over here. Let's see if they give it away. 8%. Not a, so it would be as low as 8%. So that's prime plus. They are disqualified. Another bank called Members Credit Union, just Members Credit Union. And very low on the information. 10-year draw only goes to 100,000. There is closing costs. There's just too much we don't know. And based on what we know, not too attractive. Here's the next. We got Marine Federal Credit Union. Rates as low as prime. Mobile banking. They'll pay a little bit towards closing. No intro, as we can see. Cover North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina. Not enough to make it to the board. Duke Credit Union, where this popped up yesterday as well. No annual fee. No origination fee. 100% LTV, variable rate. Got to stay under 84% to get the lowest rate, but we don't know what that is, so they're not making it. And then Summit Credit Union, we covered on the board earlier. As you can see, 15-year draw, no closing costs. Even though they say 100% LTV, but got to be careful. If we come down, we read a little bit more. No closing costs apply only when the collateral is a primary residence with a minimum loan amount of $10,000. Closing can be depending on the property location, loan amount. Could be some third-party fees. Blah, blah, blah. So where did I see their rate? Okay, a few rates. So term 180, 10-year. Rates as low as 6.5. Home equity line of credit rates are based on evaluation of credit history and combined loan to value. So your rate may differ from that. They do cover North Carolina. So we would just have to find out what does the loan to value need to be? What does the credit history, credit score need to be for me to get that? Very important to know that before you apply. Now let's pull from previous data. Let's look at some of the top banks here. Let's look up Fifth Third Bank. Let's see if they cover North Carolina. Yes, cool. Does operate in with branches, blah, blah, blah. Let's bring them up again. So these are all the states that Fifth Third Bank covers. For a bigger bank, they offer a pretty competitive home equity line of credit. So here they have their Fifth Third Equity Flex line, but it says first, and then second. So for their second lien home equity line of credit, prime minus 0.25%, that's worthy of the whiteboard. No closing costs, 10-year draw, mobile banking friendly. They have some lock rate features. Need that 750, have a much bigger credit line amount. So that prime minus 0.53% might apply only to the first lien, from what I'm understanding. Prime plus 8% is crazy. We don't want to do that. Yeah. So it's worth putting on the board. Let's do that. So we know for sure that we have that prime minus option. No closing. We know it's mobile banking friendly. We have a 10-year draw. I don't think there was an intro. Yeah, There was no intro. Don't think they had an annual fee on there. I didn't see it. You need that 750 credit score. Max credit line 500,000. So that does grant quite a bit of space there. Pretty attractive in that regard. Let's look up the next bank from yesterday's research. Let's see if CPM Federal Credit Union is in that state. CPM Federal Credit Union is in North Carolina. No. Okay. Next. South State Bank. South State Bank, Raleigh, North Carolina. That's cool. See what we got. And let me just go to one of their sites. Borrow home equity. This was the one where they cover closing costs, and then when they had that intro rate. So 6.59 for 12 months, then prime afterwards. HELOC option, 85% LTV. Make sure you do under 85% LTV to get the low prime rate. Minimum advance 10,000. Boom. Boom. Some closing. Yeah, so if you went with this bank, if you go with the 6.59 for 12 months, you'll pay closing costs. But you'll be at prime afterwards versus no intro but prime plus 0.5%, and you're going to pay closing costs. For me, I'm leaning more toward an intro rate and a prime, because when you tally both of those benefits up, even with paying closing costs, you'll be ahead more often than not. I would argue you'd be ahead long term and possibly even in the short term with nearly over a percentage point difference, right? So out the gate, you're 7.75%, no closing costs out the gate versus 6.59% out the gate with closing costs. So 0.25% less. Then it goes to prime, so I'm still a half a point less than the variable rate option. So if you were to choose this bank, the product that I'm going to pick would be South State promo rate option. So that's worthy of the whiteboard as well. All right, we could throw that on there. That's worthy. I'm just going to write the bank name for now so we can continue our research together. Let's see if they cover the other state that we did research on. So we saw part of that, right? And then that Market USA Bank. So we'll look at that. So is Parda Credit Union in North Carolina? No. Okay. They are not there. Is Market USA. Let me look at the name again. Market USA FCU. USA FCU in. No. Okay. Then it was All South FCU. North Carolina? No, they are not. All right. We did a ton of research for the state of North Carolina. Again, don't rely on just my research. You do it as well and see if you can beat what I've presented here. That's key. So we have 4 banks that are pretty attractive. And let me go back to South State. Their main highlights was 6.59, 12 months, then prime. That's the main highlights. There is closing costs, right? There is closing costs and 85% LTV. Let me see if there's an annual fee. Don't think there was. That's what we don't know. We don't know of annual fee. I think the draw period was 10 years. Those are smaller details. So, top picks for South Carolina. Based on the extensive research that we've done so far, okay, I really like Summit. That's prime minus 0.75% with a 15-year draw. Most of the upfront costs not there. There might be some third-party fees. By the way, I know this might come up. So when a bank says no closing costs, they're just referring to internal fees only, for the most part. When you see them say third-party fees, for the most part, unavoidable. Because the state that you live in wants a little piece of the pie. They're like, oh, okay, you want to take equity out in our state, pay us a fee to do that. Most states have these third-party fees or requirements to get the HELOC. So when a bank says no closing costs, they're typically just referring to their internal fees. Some of those could be an origination fee and application fee, a credit report fee, and a couple other things along the way with that. Third-party fees are typically your state fees, your settlement fees, your title insurance, these different things that get thrown in. Now, there are cases where a bank will cover the third-party fees. They'll reimburse you of those fees. You'll still pay, but then they'll reimburse you up to a certain amount in third-party fees. That truly does make the line of credit that you're acquiring of no cost whatsoever. We really like those. It usually just comes with a slight stipulation like, hey, you got to keep the account open for 3 years. We usually don't care about that. In this particular space that we're in, The vast majority of people watching are trying to pay off debt. That's going to typically take them 3, 5, 7 years or less on average. So coming back, I love the Summit credit union, that minus 0.75%. I'm going to put them number one on my list. I really like Fifth Third for a big bank, big credit line, prime minus 0.25%. Can't complain about that, no closing costs. But People's Bank Community Credit Union is offering a lot, low closing costs, no annual fee, a little bit less on the credit score, a little bit less on the credit limit. I'm a fan of that 5.99 for 12 months, and then it goes to prime. So the difference between prime and prime minus 0.25, not a big difference. But if it was prime minus 0.5, 0.75, as you see, I chose Summit over that intro rate. So I'm between People's Bank and Fifth Third in the number 2 spot. So we'll put People's Bank / Fifth Third, both in the number 2 spot. And then number 3 would be South State Bank. That'd be third. So again, if you live in the state of North Carolina and or South Carolina, all of these banks cover both North and South Carolina. And that's another reason why I did both states back to back, so that you can compare. So if you're watching this video, you're going to get the full, complete research and analysis that I've been able to do for South Carolina and North Carolina to help you make the best decision. And you honestly don't need to go any further out. And what I mean by that is when you search further out, that you're going to end up with bigger banks. So there's really no bigger banks that's going to compete with what's being presented here. So no need to go far out, because North Carolina, South Carolina came to play. They came to compete. They're competing right now. We're in a declining interest rate environment. That's attractive. Let me see what we got here. What are the biggest mistakes you see people make with HELOCs? How do you correct or avoid them? We're doing it right now. Research, pregame work. That's what most people are not doing. Research, pregame work, and just getting the wrong tool. Why? Because we don't do the pregame work, because they're not doing the action items. Simple as that. Simple as that. Hello, Jason. How you doing? Single-handedly change our lives. That is awesome. Love to see testimonies like that. Had another guy give a phenomenal testimony. We're on the phone together. He literally said, your videos saved my life. This is a person, not going to disclose their name, keep them completely private and anonymous, but this person was on the brink of suicide, taking their life. And somehow my videos made it into their feed, social media feed, and they said it was a combination of how good the financial information was, but also the pace and tone of your voice was also very, very relaxing. It put me at a place of peace and rest and confidence that I could get out of this bad financial situation. That person did get out of that situation. They dramatically improved their finances. They're in a much better position today. They're rocking and rolling. I can't wait to now finally join them on their journey. So they've been following me for years, but we never actually connected until recently. So if you're someone as a client, you got a testimony to share, feel free to comment that testimony. You can do a whole paragraph on any one of my videos, your favorite video, and you just comment a big paragraph, a big testimony. Feel free to do that. This channel, in a way, is your safe space. This channel is a safe space to ask any question pertaining to your personal finances and how you can get better. So in Connecticut, my latest first position HELOC's 500,000, 5.9%. I don't know what the K is. The K is the fix. Fix 5.9%. Biggest mistake people was using it to buy useless things, go on vacation. Gotcha. Yeah. So that's true. I'd say that comment is regardless of how good of a HELOC we get, if you misused the tool, that's like a second side effect of poor financial stewardship, doing it by yourself, thinking you can do velocity banking on your own, you watch a couple of videos. Not that the videos are bad, it's just videos on YouTube, free content. The purpose of the free aspect is to get you to do something, get you to begin to do something with your personal finances, like the pregame work. So what I love about pregame work is there's no risk. There's no risk. So you get everything set up, and during the pregame work process, you can recover hundreds, thousands of dollars in cash flow. You get your credit score up. You put a plan in place. You get your stewardship in line. You do all these good, solid, guaranteed, foundational financial frameworks. Then you say, okay, before I implement this financial strategy, I have two options. I could DIY this myself. The only people that should DIY are those that understand the strategy well in advance. You have strong financial discipline, and you've done all the pregame work. Those are the people that I'm comfortable with. Go ahead, DIY, cool. That's fine. The vast majority don't do the pregame work, don't have financial discipline, and don't understand the strategy in its entirety. And those are the ones that go first, do the strategy. They think the strategy is going to solve their financial problems. That's backwards. All a financial strategy does is enhances your current comprehension around your personal finances in the right direction or in the wrong direction. And it creates speed in both directions. That's all financial strategies actually do. They don't really solve problems. You, the asset, you're your greatest asset. You're the one that's actually solving the problem. The strategy just enhances your results, good or bad, positive or negative. So when people finally realize, oh my goodness, the strategy's not working for me. No. You're not working the strategy. That's the problem. It's not that the strategy didn't work. It's that you didn't work it properly or correctly. And that's really good to have that awareness before you make the mistake. It's great to have that awareness. Although more often than not, people have to do it. They have to touch the top of the stove, see if it's hot. Yes, it's hot. Now I got a 3rd-degree burn. Now I come running to Denzel for financial coaching. You hire me, you make the investment. I heal those wounds now. I heal that trauma with you. Together we heal that financial trauma. We heal those wounds. We secure the foundation. Then we do the strategy. And it's a wonderful time. It truly is. It's amazing to see financial transformation. So if you're someone that has been watching this channel for years, you've been doing the pregame work, and you think you're ready to go, let's take it to the next level. Work with me. Go to my website. Email me directly. I've got my lifetime coaching program. It's ending this year. I've got about 37 spots remaining now. Just had someone today message me saying to lock in a spot for them, so they're going to sign up any moment today. They might have already done so. When I first announced, I said I was going to take on 50 families. So far I've taken on 13 more families. So we got about 37 spots remaining in the lifetime program, lifetime coaching. So that literally means I'm working with you till death do us part. And then even in death, if you have children, it goes one generation down. Whether that's stepchildren, adopted children, blood children, that counts. So if you have children, no matter how many, they benefit from the coaching. They never have to pay me $1. They can receive coaching as well to carry on the legacy and everything that you've built, mom and dad. They can carry the torch, and they can work with someone that worked with their parents that aligned with their values and beliefs. And then I get to re-encourage those values and beliefs to those children. All right, so you might have kids that are not even of age yet, but realize I'm 29 years old. So if you got kids that are 10, 15, 20, and they're not yet mature enough to have those financial conversations yet, give it 10 years, give it 15 years, give it 20 years, give it 30 years. 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, I'm still going to be doing this. And by then, maybe you would have graduated Earth by then, or maybe you live all the way to 100 and you get to see me go full gray, potentially. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So I'm extremely excited for this process that we're going through right now. This series I am finding to be very, very helpful. I'm getting good feedback from you guys. I enjoy that. That's awesome. Let's keep it going. Denzel says North Carolina State Employees Credit Union has a credit card that has no balance transfers / no interest if you pay due date. Do you think getting 2 of them and doing balance transfers back and forth every month would be a good strategy to not pay interest? Sometimes you can only get 1. I've only seen it where the credit unions only allow you to get 1 per person. So that's going to cut you off. If for whatever reason they do give you 2, which I don't see a world why they would give you 2, because they would just say, give you an increase in the line of credit. So again, I'm pretty confident you can only get 1 per bank. If you had 2 at 2 separate banks and you want to do that move, you might be just creating extra work, because what you're doing is just prolonging the 0% interest by an extra 25 days. So it's like you did a balance transfer on 1 card, no cost. Up until the due date, you did another balance transfer into another card. So it pays off that card. Now you have the balance transfer over here, right? Then this is at 0, and then you do it again. So you come back, you keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you're prolonging. The question, though, is for how long are we going to keep doing that on the same balance before you want to remove it, and then you're going to chunk at something else, right? So let's say we had a $20,000 car loan. You have $15,000 credit card, 2 of them, 2 different credit unions, and you're allowed to do balance transfers, bam, 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 back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you take 2/3 of the line, say 10,000, out of credit card 1, transfer, no fee whatsoever. You turn credit into cash, right? then you pay off or pay down a debt. Now you owe that $10,000 in the credit card. Again, they're not going to charge you any interest until the due date. When the due date comes, then you transfer to another credit card. No balance transfer fee. So now credit card 1 is paid off. Now you owe $10,000 in credit card number 2. What's cool, what's interesting is you technically never, you never have you don't have to pay the balance down. You just keep transferring back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Manual work involved, for sure. But it is a small, I think, hack in the system that could be noteworthy, could potentially be implemented. And I have nothing really bad to say about it other than it's manual effort, manual work. I'm just processing it right now. It's really interesting. You did comment again. Actually, a lot of credit unions allow double dip with one hard inquiry. Please prove me wrong. So prove me wrong. Until then, I'm sticking to my guns because with credit unions that I'm with don't allow you to do that. So you can only have one credit card. So I understand if the bank has 4 different kinds of credit cards, but typically with credit unions, they have like one specific credit card where they do no balance transfer, no interest on the movement of money. So turning credit into cash or just a direct transfer. So PenFed is one. So he said you can double dip, so you can get 2 credit cards with PenFed, 1 inquiry, so you apply at the same time. So let's take a look. But does PenFed have a fee? So PenFed, credit cards. Which one is the card that does no balance transfer fee? So Jesus, let us know if one of these cards that you have with PenFed does 0% balance transfer fee. I'm not seeing that with these cards. Let's see if I try to learn a little bit more. %, balance transfers, blah, blah, blah. So that one has a transfer fee. So Jesus said he got 2 gold cards. Yeah, but you paid a fee, bro. So there's no fee for a cash advance, but when you do a cash advance, you're getting charged interest immediately. So they have the 3%. 0% for 15 months, balance transferred, but you're still paying the balance transfer fee. Yeah. So based on that so far, it's like, sure, but boom. That wouldn't work with the theory that you presented us today. But let's look at the other bank you mentioned, which was, let me see, North Carolina State Employees. So North Carolina State Employees Credit Union. Let's go. Credit cards. View all. See what we got. That's not what I want. Important terms. Here we go. %3. All right, so they got a transfer fee on that. Let's look at this one. Same thing. Same thing. 3%. I don't know, Jesus, help me out. What did you see that I didn't? So this is all 3 credit cards. Their cash rewards one, their points one, their classic one. All 3 of these have balance transfer fees. So you would be getting ripped apart if you did that theory. Yeah, you said thinking of getting 2 cards from North Carolina Employee State Credit Union. Has the credit card that allows no interest, no fee. I'm not seeing that. Section 6. Section 6. So they only have 3. Okay. Yeah. Look it up for sure, because according to this bank, it's a no-go. So what we could do is credit unions in North Carolina that offer credit card with no balance transfer fee. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's confirm. North Community. North Community. Transfer your balance, blah, 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 and discover great low rate. If you elect to use pay off a balance, we facilitate by completing a cash advance on your, we do not charge a balance transfer fee. However, a cash advance, what the hell, will incur a fee of 3% of the time. Ah, what a doozy. What a, what do they call it? A bait and switch. Come on. That was a bait and switch, North Community Credit Union. Let's see Carolina's telco. Let's see if they're telling the truth. Credit cards. 0%. No transfer fees for new card holders, 9 months. No balance transfer fee, 60 days. Come on. View details. Nah. There we go. However, this fee is waived on all transactions posted during the 60 days over. If your account is subject to charge to your account, okay, from an account of another creditor to the account subject to your what? So we do have a cash advance fee, 2%. Tell you guys, you got to read thoroughly, right? Look how important it is. And we got to read. So important. This could mess us up. Okay. So this is legit, right? So Carolina's telco and the other bank is like, they're doing that 0% for X period, but you can only do it like one time on that card, let's say. Right? What was the other bank? Greater Kinston? Let's see what they're offering. There are no checks, no NSF fees. Blah, blah, blah. Not clear. Let's see. No transfer fee. But this is a secured card. So, don't love that. I'll definitely do a series on credit cards. Definitely. Once we're done with this, I'll do a series on credit cards. Because what a crazy world it is in the world of credit cards. There's so many different kinds of credit cards. Zero percent, 12 months, no annual fee. it's rare if you can find a credit card, oh, here we go, zero balance transfer fee for the life of the card. Oh, look at that. We never charge a balance transfer fee or annual fee. It's totally free service to you. That is game changer. So that's called Skyla Credit Union. So here's how I process this personally. When it comes to like the full financial strategy as a whole, is you pick one of these banks for your main debt tool. So you make sure when you're going to apply, use your credit on the main debt tool. So if you're in the state of North Carolina, boom, maybe you pick one of these banks. Say you go with Summit. Okay. You go with Summit. That's your main debt tool. You get in alignment. You start getting the strategy going. Your credit takes a hit, then it starts to recover, right? Because you're paying off debt, you're increasing cash flow, you're doing all the right stuff. Then you add a second layer, which would be a 0% credit card. And let's say you went to Skyla Credit Union and you got 0% for the first 12 months on purchases and balance transfers, and they don't charge you a balance transfer fee. So you're able to do essentially like a double chunk. You do a chunk from your HELOC, second chunk from the credit card toward the debt that you're trying to eliminate. You're paying even less interest along the way. Maybe it was that car and you did a partial chunk in the line of credit and the rest you parked it in the card for 12 months. You pay the monthly minimum fee on that. It costs you nothing to borrow that money. Now you're just paying the monthly minimum. You've paid off a debt. You got the cash flow increase. You're now paying down your line of credit. So you're paying down your main line of credit. And right before the 0% expires on that credit card, paid off in full. From there, now you have this paid off credit card with no balance transfer fee. And maybe there's a world where when you go to make your next chunk to pay off another credit card or two, you can transfer the balance into Skyla Credit Union's credit card, pay nothing in interest for that 20-25 day period. So it buys you some time. Then you transfer it into your HELOC. So you're just like being strategic. And what I like is having one of those in my back pocket at least once a year. And what's cool, typically, most banks, you still need to start a relationship with these smaller credit unions for sure. But the application process is way faster than a home equity line of credit, and you typically will get pretty decent credit lines. So there you go, Skyla. And with that, we're done. That was good work. Thank you for the commentary back and forth. That helps. We did research. We clarified some things. I'll see you again tomorrow. We'll cover another state and we'll keep going. All right. God bless you all. Thank you for your time. I'll see you soon. Bye now.